I want to introduce now the second top speaker of our morning, who is Mr. Daniele Di Fausto, CEO of eFM. Welcome, and please take the stage. So, just to introduce you briefly, eFM is a platform company that is present on 4 continents that deals with living spaces starting from the relationship with people, among people, and acts in an ecosystem way. So I heard that you are very involved in the reconversion of urban spaces after the pandemic we all lived in the last 2 years. And I think that your speech is going to revolve around that. This is, I think, a key topic for our present and our future. So I leave the floor to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. My greetings to all the institutional representative and to my colleagues at the CEO and all the people present here in Dubai. I want to bring to you a story that is not well known, but is a success story about collaboration between public and private government about reconversion of a city. And more than 100 years ago, there was a city that has a natural disaster, an earthquake, that is San Francisco. And considering that moment, 300,000 people were without home and without offices and without anything. And there was a vision from the measure of the city that create some challenges to entrepreneur, to CEO of the city, and say, why we don't rebuild the city? And we use this experience, that is dramatic, in order to create a mixed company. So a private and a public company that with these skills can create the new city and at the same time grow in the world with these skills, building other cities. And after 100 years, this company is the biggest developer in the world. So through that experience, they create a company with history and with skills. Why I'm telling you that? Because if you think a moment, what happens during the pandemic, we didn't have any natural disaster, but our offices, our life, and our buildings were empty for most of the time. So we need to rebuild again. We needed to create a new champion in order to create new buildings. We think no. And for that reason, during the pandemic and during here, the CEOforLIFE Awards, we created a project that is called Hub Quarter, with the aim to get life again in the urban environment and to connect the physical presence of people. Why? Because if you think a moment, today even the Ministry of Infrastructure says infrastructure are very important. And when we think about infrastructures, we think railways, we think highways, and less of the time we think about spaces. So the key point of the project is that spaces and places is an infrastructure, is an existing infrastructure, but that is not connected. Now, with the pandemic, we learn about to have a hybrid workplace. We stayed in most of the time in our home, but we feel there is a missing point. We need human interaction. We need to meet people in physical presence and to interact with them. So, which is the core of the Hub Quarter concept? Considering Italy in this moment, in Italy we have 7 million square meters of private offices, so companies, and we have more than 39 million of square meters of public offices. So it's a huge number of square meter in terms of public space. And until now, we have more than 70% of this space is unused. So the offices are empty. There is no life there. But before the pandemic, there were only 300,000 employees in smart working, and now we have more than 7 million and a half of people that have the ability to work from everywhere. So there is a big mismatch between the need to work in a city environment that is completely new. So the theme of 15-minute city is growing all over the world, but we must conceive and must think about a new way in organizing the city. If you think a little bit, the way in which a city is organized today is like San Francisco 100 years ago. Every place has only one function. And when we talk, we say offices to talk about work. Or we say shops in a way that is very similar to say e-commerce or commerce, and the same for hospitals, for health. So in our mind, we have just one function for a typical space. But today, thanks to the pandemic, we have entered in a hybrid workplace situation. What does it mean? It means that every spaces can have multiple functions. So we need two spaces to work, to learn, to have good health, and to have a connection with people. So how we can achieve this? We need to create an infrastructure of spaces that can be connected together. And digital platform can help us in order that our life can be, let me say, rethink completely, and we can have access to this physical presence in museum, in bar, in work. So imagine for a moment that every day in your life, you wake up and you can choose your offices with many multiple points, touch points in your city. You have many locations available, and you can just, let me say, have the possibility to work everywhere. With this project, what we have, let me say, figure out. So consider just this point. 1 square meters cost to a company more or less than 10,000 euro per year. If all the companies in Italy can share 20% of these spaces to their employee, we can create savings for 1 billion in energy consumption, 1 billion of energy consumption, and we can reinvest this for training. If only 4 companies, big companies in Italy, can share 1% of their spaces, we will have the biggest co-working in Italy. If they will share 5% of the spaces, we will have the biggest co-working and ecosystematic co-working in Europe. And which are the benefits for the city? Consider this, that for only 1 desk shared, we can consume 80% less than CO2 reduction, and we have less traffic in the city. So the city in which I'm talking about is a new way in which our life can be, let me say, a more well-being and more distributed life. Which are the numbers? When we started this project 1 year ago in CEOforLIFE, most of the company were, let me say, busy in rethinking their new ways of working. This year was the first year that Relly Flint, the CEO of BlackRock, pointed out not only the sustainability theme and the digital theme, but even the smart working theme. So smart working is becoming a new trend for companies. During this one year, what we have achieved, that 50 CEO present in this group have reshaped their company and have gave the possibility to their employee not only to work from home to their offices, but to select multiple selection. And 100,000 employees have now in Italy the possibility not to have only one location, but to have multiple locations. This is the first project that we achieved during one year. The second project that I want to talk about is an experiment that we have in Italy with an organization that is called ELIS, in which we have created 7 locations in Italy from the north in the south that are shared with 13 companies. And there are, at the moment, 300 employees that can go to their offices or to their home, but can have access to these places. And during this year, we have studied what happens. This is an important thing, not only for sharing spaces, but to sharing experience and talent skills. What happens? In Italy in general, we have only 5% of the workers that are engaged with their company. In Europe, we have 10% of people that we say highly motivated, so engaged people to work. In this experiment, we have observed that the people involved in this project that can have the possibility to select their own place are 40% more engaged than the traditional offices. And what happens? That having the possibility to meet not only their colleagues, but to meet even other colleagues from many multiple companies, they start to create a network of relationship. And on average, one employee has the possibility in 6 months to meet more than 12 people for minimum 14 times. What does it mean is that they created a network or a new relationship with these people, and they were supported in this transition to meet other people. And not only, with this connection, these people become friends, and they started some in these places to create a sustainable project for the city environment in which they worked. So this is an example in which place can be, let me say, a third teacher for teaching new skills, for creating relationship, and to be involved in real life in the economy. As a third project, I'm very proud, and I will share this with Giordano, that places are not only, let me say, teacher for digital and digital skills. We know this is a very important thing, but we launched yesterday as a first project one node of the quarter on sustainability in Piazza Montecitorio. What we think? We think that company will increase their network. They need to showcase and to talk about sustainability project with real numbers. And we are imagining that in the city environment, there will be the creation of physical spaces in which people can talk and discuss and cooperate on sustainability project all together. And the fourth experiment project that I'm very proud to talk about. In Italy, the 15 minutes city is now becoming a big theme for the development of the resilience plan. And in the past, big cities like Rome and like Milan were very active in doing this. But during the last 3-4 months, even other cities like Florence, Bergamo, Brescia, Catania, Bari, are rethinking their way, and especially in the south, with the theme of south working, most of them are opening their unused office space or unused public offices to attract millennials, talents, and to regive life to them. With this proposition, the big numbers is this. If we are able, with the help of institutions and companies, to digital connect 100,000 physical desks, we can achieve a saving of 2 billion euro. We can increase engagement and productivity of people less than 1 billion. And we can, let me say, start in creating less reduction in oil consumption, in gas, and all CO2 themes that in this moment, with the energy issue that we have, is a great contribution for logistics and flow. So I want to leave you this message that, and we are very lucky that in Italy we have a lot of beautiful places. So our aim is to bring life again, to change completely our life to young talents. And I want, let me say, to ask your involvement, because a project of this way, that is an ecosystematic project, requires the collaboration of many different parts. And we, as CEO of company, have the duty to create a better future for the next generation, especially the young talents. And I'm very proud that the students of Luis have participated to this research, and they were involved because they will live in the new city environment for the next year. And so I invite even this community to, let me say, mentor the young talents to be part of this project. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Di Fausto. I want to remember, not only you are one of our awardees today, but you also are one of our 2 top awardees, because you're going to receive the nomination of CEOforLIFE Ambassador for your commitment to the promotion and development of projects that generate a positive impact on the environment and society. So I kindly ask to Giordano Fatali to award you with the prize, and as usual, we have our introductory clip.